Welcome to the Fill the Funnel podcast with Jeff Swan
and Tom Slocum.
We're here to help you crush your targets
with tactical tips and insights you can act on today.
Don't have a fancy tech stack, a big budget, or even a huge team to lean on?
Well, it's time to get that solved today with FTF Fridays.
Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Fill the Funnel with your host, Tom, and my boy, Jeff Swan. Today, we have an amazing guest with us, the famous LinkedIn celebrity himself, Evan Patterson from Truth. How are you today, Evan?
Not a celebrity, but okay.
Today, what we're doing is we're talking about this crazy world that we're living in where a lot of sales is moving into this weird copywriting, marketing, creating lead gen kind of world. And so the title for today is, Am I a Marketer? Right? And where are we going in that evolution of sales development and account executives that are working on growing pipeline? You know, do they belong under sales? Do they belong under marketing? There's great fun debate, and then how you can, find that sweet spot for yourself to execute. So that's kind of why we're here. So kicking it off to you, Evan, what is your take? First, should SDRs and AEs be in sales or marketing?
I honestly, if I had to pick, under marketing, but if they really had it my way, they'd be their own third department. If you look back in history, every time anything, even outside of business, we're talking government, we're talking healthcare, every industry, whenever there's something like a fit under two things, it's typically best for it to be its own thing. That way you can control how it interacts with the other things. When you put it under one, you have to figure out how it interacts with one other thing. And therefore, there's a siloed effect that makes it where you're favoring one thing more than the other in ways that you shouldn't. You want to make sure that the team is exactly how it needs to be. And you can only do that when it has its own standards and its own setup and its own enablement. So yeah, I would rather it be not sales versus marketing. It should be sales versus marketing versus sales dev.
I love it. What about you, Jeff, Mr. Smarketer himself?
Yeah, well, I mean, I've had those conversations in boardrooms with CEOs that believed that it should go in marketing or it should go in sales. So like when I was holding marketing and I had sales development under me, it was fantastic when I had a CEO who was all about it, yeah. Right? Very easy. Right. This guy's got my back, right? But I've literally been in situations where the CEO, the head of sales, the head of product, like everybody, they all believed that sales development belonged in sales. And then I had them on my team. And so I've always said the same thing, is that it doesn't matter which department it sits in. It matters who knows sales development, who can support them properly, and who can actually get the fucking job done.
Right.
That's it. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, and Evan, to your point, okay, maybe it should be in sales. Maybe it should be marketing. Maybe it should be its own bloody thing. Like, it probably should.
Honestly, it really should, because every time I was ever a BDR or SDR, especially like under a, I won't say XDR for the sake of this conversation, but anytime I was especially on a small team, I spent my day being thrown back and forth between both heads of both departments. You know, you look in the HR platform, you may say that's my boss, but in my day-to-day, I don't even know who the hell really is my boss. Especially at Reprise, that was a great example. I had like 6 bosses. Which is more proof that companies should make it its own department. It's its own world, its own beast.
Evan, that's given me. Sorry, go ahead, Tom.
No, Jeff, go. You got them. You got it.
Sorry, what you were just saying. It's given me flashbacks of like earlier on in my career where I was running demand gen, and I didn't even know which department I sat in. I always sat in marketing, but I had no freaking clue, because I'm a sales guy who's also a marketer. Where do I sit? And so a lot of times, even at this point in my career, I wasn't really running sales development yet, but I was always there. I was giving them the lists. I was helping them with the scripts and their approach. And like, we were doing messaging chats at the end of the day. And like, basically I was the one that was leading them the whole time, but I had no direct reports or anything like that. So it was very awkward, to be honest, because I felt like I had the responsibility, but without the autonomy. Like, it was really weird. Had to get everybody, and I had to get help from both the heads of marketing and the heads of sales in order to do what I had to do. So it was really awkward. So sorry, man, you just triggered something, Evan.
So my question then is for you is, okay, let's say it creates its own lane. Here's the big question then. What are you aligned to? What are the objectives and activities then that those people would be held to, right? Because if you create its own lane and we create SDRs into this own world, then what or how do you align with either or are you doing a blend?
I always look at it and the way I compare it to city planners and the way they think. There's like a hierarchy of roads. If you're a nerd like me and play video games like City Skylines, you'll also get this. There's freeways and then there's like the city streets, like roads and avenues. Then there's also exits and interchanges where you connect the freeways to those roads and avenues. That's what biz dev and sales dev is. It's those exits off the freeway that get you on and off the freeway and onto the city. The city is the sale, the freeway is marketing, but the freeways are useless without those on and off ramps. And the roads can't get reached unless there's an on and off ramp. So that's what biz dev is. It's connecting those two. So the alignment is, how do I make what marketing is doing work, which is how do I make the freeways worth being built, and then how do I make sales, obtainable? How do I make it accessible? That's the whole point of the off ramp, right? So that's how I look at it, as that's how I'm getting aligned. How can I take marketing's efforts and make them ROI-able, as I put it, and how do I make sales, have something to do? So that's how you benchmark it.
Interesting take. I like it.
I was like, why is everything car related with me? Which is weird. I'm not even a car person. I think it's just because I'm from Detroit.
Yeah, that's your pedigree, man.
Yeah, unfortunately.
And you live in Chicago too, so when you're talking about highways and freeways and all those things, I'm sure you have some experience there.
Some trauma, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm a train and bus kind of a guy. I love my CTA. Shout out CTA.
Yeah. Oh man, I remember my last trip home from Chicago, and it was like a 3-hour ride to the airport from like a half hour. It should have been a half-hour drive.
The CTA is what happens when the biz dev is on its own team. It works.
Right. Yeah. Well, it's interesting. So just on the topic of alignment, the way that I worked, and I'll go back to that time where I didn't really own. What's that?
Nothing. You're good.
I'll go back to that time of when I didn't own sales development, but I was responsible for them. Right. And that was where I really had to do a lot of things to make people align, because I didn't have any authority to do anything specifically, but I had to get the job done. And so I did exactly what you're saying, Evan, is I built those off ramps and on ramps and whatever else, and made sure that there were systems in place so that it was very smooth transition from marketing to sales development to sales, and then vice versa, however it has to go. Because as we all know, like, sales isn't a linear thing. That's a freaking myth. But the key that I found was actually sitting people in a room together, people who are warring. I'd always have side conversations, the sales reps would complain, or the SDRs would complain, or the marketers would complain. And I'd always be the man in the middle, like kind of figuring everything out, and just like having honest conversations, just bringing people together was the best way to just get people to align. And then having shared kind of projects to do. So things like messaging, as an example, not letting messaging be owned by product or marketing or sales, and just own it together. And like, this is the messaging we're going to use to go to market. And man, was that so much more effective than just trying to go it alone and trying to be that.
Yeah, I've carried that into my current role. I'm not the BDR anymore, but I still want to make sure that every person is in alignment with what the heck I'm writing.
So how can SDRs and account executives today start blending that world, right? And so if it ever does come that we do build its own lane, or what skills should they be working on right now to put them in a position to win at this?
Yeah, I think you need to understand the power of a personal brand. I'm already seeing more and more companies that when you look at their job requirements, follower count is on there now for AEs. So like, if you want job security in the next 5 or so years, I would predict this would become an issue for some people that are waiting until it becomes necessity. I would start now. My last 2 jobs I got through my brand. I didn't apply. Reprise, I had a prospect that I was social selling to that it didn't work out because of reasons unrelated to the product. It was more like a timing, but he loved my outreach style, and he loved my content. It's why he actually hit accept on the connection request. And he said that he knew that these people were hiring, and he wanted to give me an intro because he thought that they would love me, and I worked there. And then Scott reached out to me after seeing my content, and now I work at Troops, so it's not just job security, but soon I think it's going to be one step further than job security. It's going to be just the ability to get a job, period.
It's branding is a key part of that, and I think it gives you the skills to help you be successful at that marketing sales kind of aspect, right? Because when I started getting into LinkedIn a year ago, and I had been on LinkedIn for years, using it for the purpose of just business networking, but when I started building a brand and putting my own content out there, I started learning writing skills. I got better at storytelling. I got better at writing emails and understanding the hook, the story, the call to action, that now my emails are light years ahead of what they used to be. I get responses now. My content's gotten better and more engaged because people now are hooked in at the beginning. So branding isn't just about what you said, right? The job search part of it, but it's a skill set it's a muscle that you continue to work. And it's going to impact all the other roles. Now I go to my marketing team and they are asking me for input on their marketing emails, right? Because I've built a successful brand. They're like, well, dude, you must be doing something right. So can you help on how this would connect to the market? Or you're going to start running the social channel for that company, right? You might land that role where like, hey, could you manage our social at a company level here and there? Sure.
That happened to me, I always say, the best people in their roles have a side hustle. In this context, the side hustle is your business, your brand. Your brand is your business. I don't care if you don't make any direct, like no one gives you a paycheck for it, but it is your business. Like who you are is your business. Your career is your business. Like Troops is my employer, but at the end of the day, like I employ myself through my brand. I would not work at Troops unless I had my brand. Troops would not want to work with me. So therefore I technically employed myself at Troops. I got the job because of what I was already doing. So if you don't see this as a business that you own that doesn't require an LLC, like if you don't see it as that, then you're not you're not in the right headspace. You have to look at this the same way one would look at running and owning a business. The difference is it happens to be your mere existence and presence instead of a product. You are the product. You are the service that's being sold. You have to paint that picture.
Well, and then, you think about prospecting efforts get a lot easier. People know you now, right?
That's the fuel for the car. Everybody's heard my car analogy by now, but yes, right. That's the fuel for the car.
Right. But, if you were to call somebody right now cold on LinkedIn that you knew as a target and they were paying attention, they'd be like, oh, yeah, I know you, Evan. I love your content. How are you today? And you've already earned that permission to have a conversation because they're like, well, I love his content, so he's obviously calling me for some reason. And if it is, I got to listen because I appreciate what he shares, right? Like Ryan Scalera, he does videos. Now he cold calls people from an AE level. He gets deals all the time. They're like, you're the video guy, right? Or Dean being a rapper, right? All these people that are building their lanes and their brands is only making those conversations a lot warmer. It's not all about warming it up for them, by liking their content and stuff, but it's also warming them up to you. Who are you? So when that name comes across, it's like, oh, top. As soon as I started doing branding, I could cold call, and I got shocked half the time when people are like, oh, yeah, I've seen your stuff, man. How are you doing? And I'm like, what? Okay, So it's a visibility, it's expertise, it's trust, it's authority, and it opens up a whirlwind of things that help you adapt to this new world that is coming because AI is coming, and it's already here, and it's happening very quickly. That you're going to have to figure out a way that puts you aside from everyone else because the AI is going to be doing everything else. So how do I choose between Evan and Tom if they cold call me, right? Like, what is that differentiator? And you're going to have to do that through your brand.
People buy from people they like.
That's is how you earn trust.
Yeah.
Big
I can be mediocre, but if you like me, mediocre looks a lot better.
Yeah, it does, And so I think there's so many important things to at least building a brand somewhere, right? I'm not saying this has to be a LinkedIn avenue. You want to live in the arena that your audience is, get on Twitter and build a brand there, build one through Instagram, but be somewhere, or even a website in your signature on your emails, right? Build a website that holds your on-demand content of, evanpatterson.com. Throw it in your signature and, people can get familiar with you.
Could you imagine the pumpkin spice lattes everywhere?
Man. All the emojis, spitting coffees all on the side. Like, it'd be ridiculous.
as they pull it into the camera frame for people that are listening.
But you know what I mean? Like, even a site, even a little WordPress site or, something to house what you're doing and the things that you're doing to build that credibility and just throw it in your signature so people know, like, who Tom is or who Evan is or who Jeff is. It's so important.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think, Jeff?
Oh, yeah. You know what? I'm having some audio issues. I don't know if you guys are hearing that.
Jeff, I can't hear you.
Oh,
yeah, because I can't hear Evan at all.
You ran into my issue that I had with a couple episodes back. So try refreshing and you should be able to pull it back up. But yeah, Evan, it's only me and you.
Yeah.
Oh, darn.
Darn. Sorry, our audience. They're probably like all dropping off now. This is our drop off point.
Not likely.
Well, Evan, what else would you say to as we wrap up and kind of finish this out? Is there anything you leave for the audience on to how they can adapt to this world?
I totally think that the best SDRs are going to be great copywriters, especially in B2B. Everything in B2C will get you to B2B eventually. So go watch what those silly influencers are doing to sell water bottles and t-shirts, because quite frankly, there's nothing differently that I'm doing than they are. My Instagram, I share pictures of my travels or the things that I'm doing with my friends or my partners. I kind of give people a glimpse into, who Evan is. I seldom post anything related to work on Instagram. It's just like, if you want to get to know me as a person, not as a professional, but as a person more. So, like those tiny things make a world of difference when it comes to driving leads or filling your pipeline, because people are like, oh God, I got to send this demo. Versus like, oh my God, I get to talk to this person. Like they get excited. So, I have so many demos on my calendar right now that half of them I'm excited for, half of them I'm trying to come up with an excuse to get out of, and what's the difference? I like these people.
Yeah. Very nice. I love it. As we wrap up here, right? A couple things we touched on is, where should SDRs sit? Who does it better? Sales, marketing, or its own lane? Obviously, how do you help SDRs align? Is just communicate very clearly, right? Get with your departments. Make sure, like Evan said, he's still marketing, but he's making sure his salespeople know he's in their corner. They're talking. Everybody's in line to be able to go to market together. So use the power of your personal brand to blend that world of sales and marketing. Dive into it. Get your voice out there. Share. Be where your customers are. Thanks for listening. I hope you enjoy. Happy hunting.
Thank you for joining us for another episode of Fill the Funnel podcast. If you like what you heard, be sure to hit subscribe on your favorite platform, give us reviews, and tell all your friends about us. Till next time, happy hunting.